All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with our media availabilities for today. We are now joined by Tyler Reddick, driver of the number 45 Toyota for 2311 Racing. If you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll get a wireless mic over to you. We'll start with Bob.
Fox Sports have a couple. Is it surreal at all, or have you gotten used to seeing Jordan's logo on your hood every week?
I mean, it's still really cool, obviously. Yeah, it's been nice to do the games that we have, especially here the last month or two, right? Like, I really enjoyed the one that we ran at the 600. But to be mixing it up like we have and putting it to work like we have been has been really, really cool. So, yeah, this car's really exciting too. I think, doing the aid and all the things around that shoe and the design on their car is really exciting for this weekend.
You haven't been to the championship before. Your organization hasn't been there before. So what makes you think that you can make it this year?
I think when you look at our speed and the things that we really are good at, our ceiling's there right now, I think. It's just a matter of putting it together on the racetrack and one weekend at a time, right? Obviously, if you do everything right, you can win and get there. But I think, too, the way that we've been scoring points in these playoffs, we've been strong in that front, too. So we have paths. We have two ways we can get there. I'd like to get there the first way so we can really focus on Phoenix. But we have options, I feel like. So obviously, to win races, you got to run up front all day. And if you do that, you're going to score points. So, I think they're kind of hand in hand with one another. And, yeah, we look at Vegas and Homestead and even Martinsville, all three tracks are good tracks. I would say the first two are good for me, right? Martinsville's really good for the team in Toyota and really upped my game when we went there in the spring. So I feel good about the tracks we have up ahead. And then Phoenix, at the end of that race, we were battling Larson and Byron for the win there too. So, I feel like we're really strong at these last remaining tracks.
Zach Sterniolo, NASCAR.com. Tyler, Toyota has 4 of these last 8 positions in this round. I think the conversation a lot of times is Toyota getting outnumbered in a lot of ways, but to have the strength of field here, what does that mean to you, the manufacturer, and the team?
Yeah, I imagine it means a lot to everyone at TRD. They work really, really hard to give their drivers and teams, all the resources that they can. They've been very beneficial to me as a driver and certainly the team this year. I'm new to it, my first year with Toyota, and I've just been extremely pleased with what they bring to the table and how they operate. It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, personally, that would be really cool, right? If the 4 Toyotas that are left can execute well in this round of 8 and we can lock that thing out, that would be great. So, obviously, can't really do anything about the other 3, right? But if we do our job and if Denny and Martin and Christopher execute as well, I think that's something that's very possible, right? I think it's going to take some wins, but we have the speed to go out there and win.
We talked about confidence and mindset going into the Roval, but it feels like that's kind of just permeated throughout the course of the season for you. How have you grown as a driver over the course of this year, particularly joining TRD?
Yeah, I still race, I feel like, as hard as I always have, but, it's been nice to have the cars as good as they are to where I can, I guess think twice about taking the really risky choice or making the risky decision on a restart or battling for position. So it's been nice to have that, knowing that, okay, if we can't get them this lap, maybe in 5 laps, maybe on the next restart, maybe at the end of the race, it gives me options as a driver. I feel like for a long time in the Cup Series, I had to race really, really hard for every spot, even if it was on like lap 5. And, I still have that drive to do that, but it's nice knowing that we have a car that's capable of overcoming track position loss at times. We did it a lot this year at the spring here, actually, with the issues we had in warm-ups, not getting to practice or qualify, being boxed in on pit road all day. We'd lose about 10 spots every time on pit roads. So that was a rough day when we were here in the spring, but going through those motions earlier in the year, leading into this race, knowing that if that happens, I had to do it every single time we had a caution at Vegas in the spring. So it makes me feel good that things don't go right at some point in the race. I know what to do to get back to the front, too.
Jeff Gluck.
I know you're a big F1 fan. Have you checked out any of the setup they have going on, and do you think you'll come back for the race in November?
I've thought about it, but I'm sure, like everyone knows, it's going to be expensive. So we'll see. Maybe if things go really good this year, maybe it'll be like my present to myself. We'll see. I didn't get to see it like you did, obviously. Walking through like the main stretch area. I saw that photo you posted. But yeah, when we landed, we drove right by it, and just the amount of construction is insane. You think about how quick we had to be in and out at Chicago, and how much they've already dug in and changed the appearance of the strip for this event is pretty wild to see. So, yeah, they're going to get some new roads out of it, right? That's cool. But, yeah, the traffic, I should have known, right, when we landed it was going to be a little crazier. I'd heard about it from some friends that had grown up here or still live here. So, yeah, I'm excited for the event, right? It has been crazy, like I said, to see how much the strip's kind of changed already.
Sphere last
Yeah.
night? What
I
was
got
that
to.
like?
That was really cool. I got to go hang out with some good friends. Rick, Sierra Brandt, I've known them for a long time, and got to go hang out with them and see one of my parents, probably one of their favorite bands growing up. I remember when I was a kid, busting into a drawer and finding a bunch of CDs, and there was some U2 CDs in there. So I was very familiar with the band. I listened to them quite a bit when I was younger, and I could only really find my parents' music, and I'd pop it into the CD player. So to see them perform at the Sphere was pretty wild. For those that haven't been, I mean, I'd say you have to go. It's quite the experience. It's hard to put into words. It's just the whole venue is very, just cutting edge, future feeling, and then obviously how they're able to project what they do on the inside, the outside, just the atmosphere, the stage. It was a really wild night. It was taxing on the eyes. It was certainly, by the time we were done there, I felt like I'd watched like 24 hours straight of television, but it was certainly worth it. I enjoyed it. It was quite the experience.
All right, Jerry, and then Kelly.
Jerry Jordan, kicking the tires.net. Win the championship, you come back out here, F1 celebrate,
I doubt they're going to roll the red carpet out like that, but certainly, I'll find a way to make it happen. I know, it's something that Kurt's talked about, trying to figure something out where all of us could go, and it's just, it's a lot of money, right? I think at that point, I'd almost, if I'm looking at it, right, like you go out to Europe and go to Silverstone and spend a fraction of the price and probably have a better experience, or go somewhere else and see it too. So, yeah, I feel like it's going to be a wild time. But yeah, I guess that's a nice little treat for myself if things go well later this year.
Also, coming out of here and going to Miami, you talk about how good you are here, but up there at Miami, you can run the wall, you can run, you kind of get out front and do your thing. Do you feel like you have a good shot, if whatever happens here at Miami is a good place for you to win because of the way that you like to race that track?
I think, all the teams today and this weekend are wanting to win here. Certainly, others may feel like their backup plan is Martinsville or Homestead. I certainly feel like our backup plan, if even if we have a solid day, it'd be nice to win and give yourself some time to focus on Phoenix. So yeah, for me, I am excited about Homestead, but when I look at our speed this year, this one excites me more. As odd as that sounds for me, like I said, my first time on a mile and a half in a Toyota, and with this team was here. We had an up and down day due to circumstances, and we still had a lot of speed. So with all of that, I'm really excited about this one. I know Homestead is one that's been great for me too. But hopefully things go well enough this weekend to where we go into Homestead and we can just worry about having fun. But obviously someone will get in on points, and we've done a good job of that in the playoffs. So I feel like, this is a good track for me to be able to score points. We scored a lot of points at the beginning of the race at Martinsville in the spring. And I know Homestead's a type of track for me that we can have that ability to score points too.
Kelly.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Tyler, my question is kind of along those same lines. Does it seem like everybody's maybe overlooking you here and just counting on what you're going to do at Homestead?
It don't matter. We're focused on ourselves, right? Ultimately, that's what we can control. Yeah, we got to go race against these other guys, the other 7 drivers, but yeah, we just do our deal, kind of like we did at the Roval. I know it would have been, it's so tempting to just go for the race win, but we needed to focus on what was best for ourselves and our team. and that's what we've been doing in the playoffs here. So we just keep it that. Excited to see what we have for speed out of our car in about an hour. Certainly excited to see that. It'll be kind of fun being on track or close to being on track around the same time as the Eclipse too. So, pretty exciting day, honestly.
The other 7 drivers, as you mentioned, how closely have you looked at who the competition is in this round? Did you maybe make any mental notes or just kind of see where everybody stands up after how it played out last weekend?
I mean, I think it kind of goes back to just what you would normally expect, who's been the fastest. You know, I think throughout the year there's been some change in who's the dominant car and coming, you know, some guys have gotten better, some have fallen off a little bit. But yeah, I mean, when you're in the race, you know, I'd say in this, especially this first race, right, when you get closer to like maybe, you know, more like Homestead and certainly at Martinsville, that's when you start paying attention to the pace of your competition. If you need to do something different, strategy, you implement it. But I think for here, it's just kind of go out and run your race, like, you know, maximize your own day. You know, certainly if you feel like you have a really strong car, you're going to be looking and seeing who else has the strong pace and where they have the speed as well. But, you know, that's just nothing outside the normal that you would do for a 1.5 mile race for us. We're just going to kind of operate like a normal weekend, right? You know, I guess if the opportunity presents itself, right, you'll have to make that tough decision. If there's a caution with, let's say, 5 to go in a stage, do you flip it and give up the track position, or do you take the stage points? I'd say that'd be the only situation where you'd have to make that debate.
All right, we'll go to Cole, and then in the back, and then Dustin.
Cole Cusimano with the Arizona Republic. Similar to what Kelly asked, actually, how do you feel you stack up to the competition on 1.5 mile track, seeing as we've got 2 in this round of 8?
How do we feel we stack up?
It's your round of 8 competition.
Yeah, I feel like we're really solid on 1.5 miles. You know, it was, we could kind of see it here at Vegas. Bubba was really happy with the handling of his car. Felt like we needed to get a little bit better. And by the time we got back to, you know, the World 600, as I like to call it, yeah, we were extremely good. You know, I felt like, you know, Blaney was pretty solid, but I just needed to get around him. And I wasn't, as funny as it may sound, I wasn't really in a hurry to get around him because I knew we were quite a bit better. And ultimately, at some point in the race, we got damaged. Our floor got destroyed on the car, and we lost a lot of downforce, and that's why we ended up finishing 5th, 6th. But when things are right and we do our homework and the car is dialed in setup-wise, when we've been at these tracks, you know, I felt that way about Texas. At Kansas, we were pretty good. Denny was a little better there for sure. But when we've had to dial it in at these 1.5 miles, it's been really, really solid. So looking at the competition in this moment, approaching a weekend, you're just focused on your car and your team. I'd say, you know, when practice is all said and done, you know, if you're looking at, you know, who's better where, I'd say you're looking at it a little bit just to think about tomorrow's race, but you're not, you know, trying to completely hone in on 1 or 2 teams or drivers at this point.
And obviously, you have the win at Kansas, but you're also the only driver to lead laps in every 1.5 mile race this season. What is it about these style of tracks and this package that kind of, I guess, suits your style?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like since day one for me in NASCAR racing, I don't know if it's just because you don't use the brakes a whole lot, but yeah, you know, being the dirt racer that I was, you don't really use, I mean, you use the brake to set the car, you know, so short tracks and road courses were certainly not my thing. So, I mean, naturally suiting just my driving style. The 1.5 miles were great for me from day one, so that in itself helps a lot. And then, you know, last year had good speed on these tracks. Could contend, and then that just continued into this year with this team. So, yeah, when we come to these tracks, I'm always very excited because you have lots of lanes to choose from. You know, you can run the bottom, you can run the middle, you can run the top, you can split the seams. You know, when you get up in the top 5 especially, it's kind of a guessing game, a chess match, if you will, trying to just predict where the car ahead of you is going to go and chasing that clean air so you can keep your momentum up. So it's really fun when we come to these tracks because especially this one in particular, you know, if the top gets rolling, you can make speed in the middle or the bottom. You have to be versatile, and I feel like that's something our team does really well. It did well at Charlotte, did well at Kansas, and other tracks. We can move around and still have a lot of speed.
Brian Twining, Bettsworth's Media Group. I'm not sure if the drivers or the teams look at race odds, but do you feel any added pressure knowing or just kind of anticipating that you're always amongst one of the favorites week in and week out now that you guys have kind of heightened the expectations for your successes so far in 2023?
I mean, I'm only aware of it if when I'm going through social media, I see it pop up. Outside of that, I wouldn't say it really affects the mindset, right, of us as drivers. I guess if anything, it's a nice maybe it's a confidence booster if you are the favorite going into the weekend for you and your team. But yeah, typically, if we're going somewhere and we feel good about it, it seems like we're up there on the odds, I guess. But yeah, we've been doing a lot of things right. It's just a matter of putting it all together for us. And I feel like we've been doing a good job of that this year. So excited to see how this race goes.
All right, and then we're going to finish up with one final question from Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Tyler, this summer, you guys talked about not having the execution and not being able to put races together consistently, which in one sense you don't necessarily have to do in the playoffs, but it helps build that momentum. Other than saying, hey, let's not make mistakes, what is it that's changed in that sense, or how are you guys avoiding the pitfalls that were slowing you down in the summer now?
That's a good question. I think, when you look back at the summer, we'd won, and we were locked in, right? But we were wanting to chase those regular season points and get some playoff points from that. But I guess in the middle of the summer, you have this sense of obviously I feel like we had a sense of urgency to correct those issues, but we knew we had time till the playoffs started, till Darlington, to resolve those issues, and it just seemed like, as the clock was running out, every time we would have a critical mistake, it hurt more. But it just seemed like when the playoffs came, everyone just was ready and was locked in, and we've been doing a really good job ever since. It's like we were running out of time, and just right as we got in the heat of this thing, we pulled it together. So obviously, it would have been good to correct it earlier, but hey, I'll take it, right? The playoffs came around, we locked in. Those first two races obviously were really strong for us. And even though Texas and Talladega didn't go great, I feel like those were days where, a lot of things could have went worse, and we did a good job of managing the issues that we had. So it feels like, it was definitely tough to have those races slip away in the summer, but we certainly learned from all those mistakes along the way, and I feel like we're operating, right where we need to be right now.
All right, thank you, Tyler. Good luck
All
this
right,
weekend.
thanks.